Are you experiencing back pain that you can't get rid of? Getting migraines, vertigo, having trouble sleeping, and/or brain fog? Do you feel like your medical doctor doesn't understand your condition? Blair Chiropractic might be the solution you've been looking for. If you've ever been skeptical about this, the two doctors you're about to listen to were even more skeptical than you were when they looked into chiropractic work. But fear not. Get expert guidance from the blonde and the bald, Doctors Beth Bagley and Frederick Schurger. These two doctors have extensive experience beyond the healthcare realm and bringing unique vision and healing to their patients. What do you have when you get a biological analyst and an engineer together? Find out right here on another episode of The Blonde and the Bald. Welcome your hosts, Doctors Bagley and Schurger.
Welcome everyone to The Blonde and the Bald, and I'm Dr. Frederick Schurger, and we've got
I'm Dr. Beth Bagley. We've got a special guest today. This is Sarah, and she's actually my sister. And I brought her on today because she has a story about a little known problem that has happened to people called trigeminal neuralgia. And she had it very early onset in college. And she's got a really great story about how she had her life turn around and now lives pain-free from trigeminal neuralgia symptoms and some headache stuff too. So we'll talk all about that today. So Frederick, do you mind if I start?
You go.
Okay. So Sarah, when I was in chiropractic school, I had discovered this thing called upper cervical. And we had been under some sort of chiropractic care most of our lives, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So our grandfather was a chiropractor, and then through the years we would get chiropractic care, but it was more of the conventional chiropractic care. So what was your experience with conventional chiropractic care?
I'm going to be honest, it kind of scared me. Grandpa was a wonderful man, but he did a lot of like surprise attack chiropractic care where he would like jump behind me so I wouldn't cry and try to crack my neck.
And then you would cry.
And then I would cry. So,
because that was it didn't feel good to you, right?
No, I was never relaxed when he did it. I was always really tense. And so it scared me growing up. I still continued with it, through high school and college, and found other chiropractors that didn't scare me. But at first it definitely scared me. So
coming into college, right? You were having a lot of headaches. I remember, correct? So one of the things I remember is an industrial sized bottle of like Advil or something, right? From Sam's Club, right? How much were you going through of that, you think?
I'm sure probably within a week, I would say probably maybe 4 of the 7 days I was taking Advil pretty regularly.
Yeah. And that was when you were 19, 20 years old.
Exactly.
So then something happened. And what did it feel like?
So thinking back, it was towards the end of my college career. I was up in Kirksville, and I did have a chiropractor that I saw up there here and there. And I remember calling mom, our mom, and said that like something in my jaw hurt, my mouth. And I was like, who do I go to? Like, is this a chiropractor thing? Is this a dentist thing? Is this a doctor thing? And it kind of like came and went. And it was kind of like a pulsing, pain down like my jaw area. And then it would go away for a little bit and it would come back. And I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know who to see. And it happened at a time where I was coming back to St. Louis anyway, because I was going to start my student teaching. And I remember it being super uncomfortable, super painful, and it would go away and then it would come back. And I talked to you about it. I talked to Dr. Bagley about it, my sister, because I wasn't sure what to do. And then it got more and more intense, and it didn't go away anymore. It wouldn't go away anymore. And it was keeping me up at night. And the only thing that would help is if I would drink water, I remember repeatedly, like something with the
ice. You'd have ice in your mouth too.
And ice. Yeah, I needed something. I don't know what it did or why that helped. But all of a sudden it was keeping me up at night. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't do anything. And I didn't know what was wrong.
So I was in chiropractic school at the time. I didn't know a lot yet because I was in school, but I had discovered upper cervical already. There was a chiropractor I was seeing, Dr. Adam Tanasi, and he had already changed my life with the chiropractic care that I'd received there. So when she described this to me, of course, in school, I had just learned about trigeminal neuralgia, and it was heard it's super rare. You're probably not going to see it a lot, but this is what it is. And when she was describing this to me, I said, this is trigeminal neuralgia. So I think you got maybe tested or something. Did they do an MRI? I can't even remember. Nobody did that.
I don't think so.
It's so long ago.
I don't remember. I really don't.
But I remember you hearing that, like, you're too young for that. There's no way you could have that.
Yes.
That's what people would say.
Yeah. I was talking to the doctors. I was calling my doctors. They didn't think I had it. They were trying painkillers, which kind of worked here or there, but not completely. Yeah. And so I was kind of just living with it. And I remember being at mom's house in the middle of the night, just sitting in the bathtub. Like I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. And I remember the nights being the worst because it was like nobody was around, nobody was awake, and I was awake and I couldn't sleep. And I was just getting freaked out. That's the best way to put it. I was just freaked out.
So Sarah, I've got a question on that.
Yeah.
When you say in the bathtub, you're talking like a hot bath, trying just to get warm enough, because I've had something, I don't know if I want to call it trigeminal neuralgia, but the only thing that would give me just enough relief to get myself ready for the day or to go down to get adjusted was sitting under a hot shower. So
yeah, it was like the only thing that, like, it calmed my mind and it calmed my body. Like it calmed enough that I felt like I could, make it another hour. Like I could do something else. That's a great way to put it. I had never thought about that, but yeah, it was the only thing that was giving me any relief at all.
Wow. So I, at some point, and again, I don't even remember the whole story because this was years and years ago. But I remember why I wanted to bring you on is because this really confirmed my my belief that I was doing the right thing with leaving conventional chiropractic behind and exploring upper cervical as my career, is because I brought you to my chiropractor, correct?
You did. Dr. Tanasi.
And so he had x-rays taken of you.
Yes.
And what did they discover on your x-rays?
They discovered that I have a weird bone, and that for my entire life, even grandpa was adjusting me wrong because you can tell them what bone it is, but it sticks out. They always thought that I was out on that side. So they kept adjusting me on that side, and I can feel it. I know where it is, over and over and over again. And nobody knew.
Yeah. So if you're watching and not just listening, that top bone, so there's the skull, the top bone, one side on her is bigger than the other side by a lot. It's kind of a big chunk of a piece of it's called the transverse process. So, a conventional chiropractor that doesn't take x-rays would just feel that. And especially these are really special. It's like just a side x-ray of that, you're not going to see it, but a specialized x-ray called the base posterior. And he was able to see that, whoa, you've just got a really honking side to one of your atlas bones. And so chiropractors had been adjusting you wrong since you were a kid. And no wonder it hurt so bad for you because it was wrong.
And no wonder it never was right. Like I would feel after an adjustment, maybe some relief immediately, but then it would nothing ever really worked. Like nothing really stuck. So thankfully Dr. Tanasi took me on, and I remember the first time I was adjusted, I remember just kind of laying there and I felt my whole body kind of just like relax. I remember hearing my stomach like start gurgling, and I was like, that's weird.
That's so cool. I get goosebumps. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so then we started going there, and it took some time. It took, twice a week adjustments. And I remember little by little, it stopped. It kind of stopped hurting. It wasn't immediate, but little by little, it kind of stopped hurting. And I don't tell you the truth. I remember, going back to student teaching, and I remember doing that, and I don't remember exactly when it stopped. But knock on wood, with being under Dr. Bagley, my sister's care now, I haven't had a relapse of it. So I was telling our mom on the way, way home today, I don't really remember when it stopped, and I don't really remember a lot of it. I think I've blocked it out.
It was bad. Yeah. And it's scary when you're going through something like that. The thing that your brain goes to is, what if I have to live like this for the rest of my life?
Oh, I had that thought in the bathtub. I remember I can't do this. Like this, I can't go to work like this. I can't sleep like this. And my sister knows me, like sleep is my favorite thing in the entire world. And it was awful. It was awful.
Yeah. So someone listening to this might be going through that right now. And that's why I wanted to bring you on, is because they might type in trigeminal neuralgia and then find our podcast, right?
Yes.
And I want them to know that there's life after this.
Yes.
That one of the problems with trigeminal neuralgia is it's so unrelenting for some people that they actually end up taking their lives. And that's painful for me to even think about, because there is an answer to this, and it is upper cervical chiropractic care, especially Blair Care. But if Blair Care is not available in your area, there might be an upper cervical doctor that's awesome too. We love all of our friends that do upper cervical. So now, since then, you've been under care. Your headaches are, I know you still get headaches sometimes, but not very often anymore, right?
I can tell when I have a headache, I'm out. Like, I know it immediately. And actually, I need to come and see you. Right now, I had a headache at school today, but we will take care of that this weekend. Yes. But yes, when I have a headache, and I also can feel it. I don't know if it's because I have that really weird bone, but I can kind of feel it like down my ear. I can feel when I start getting out that I need, like, it's almost a tingling sensation, that I need to come in and see you. But yeah, I remember going back to what you just said. I remember Googling it, trigeminal neuralgia. And I remember it coming up as such, like
the suicide disease.
Yep. And I read those words and I was like, whoa, we'll do anything. I will do anything, you know? And so, you know, I completely agree with you. People need to seek out care, and they need to try it.
Yeah. So Dr. Frederick, we got her under care relatively quickly after her symptoms started. Do you notice a difference between clinically when someone with a big neurological complaint, if they get in sooner versus they've had it chronically for a long time?
Well, with any sort of chronic neurological issue like this, what's one of the interesting things about nerves is if a nerve starts firing and firing a lot, it starts to develop a memory to that problem. So I didn't, you know, whenever what I had, and we're going to call it trigeminal neuralgia for sake of this conversation. When I had that, I knew I immediately needed to get it addressed. One of our good friends who has now passed, the late great James Tomasi, he had TN for 20 years before he got his head on straight. And something that he had told me, it was at least a decade since he had been under care, maybe a little bit longer, but he had a hard time. He would talk about it. He would give talks to people describing how, you know, he had bought the gun and how he was about to commit suicide when he had a moment of relief. And he shared with me that he would, just telling that story would bring that pain back on across his face. So, and he was just at this point in time, a decade or more out, not having that pain come on as he tells the story, which is pretty profound. So it's, you know, we hear this phrase, nerves that fire together, wire together. And certainly with those pain fibers, if they are always firing and you do not get any relief, for some people, they have to be cut because the nerve fibers will not turn off otherwise. And that's, you know, that is hopefully we don't let people get to that point. But that is a reality for these pain fibers and these pain generating nerves. And trigeminal neuralgia would just, I think most people before they get to that point, you know, decide that they're done and they're checking out, unfortunately.
Yeah. So Sarah, last thing, unless Dr. Schurger has any other questions. When I look at my story of how I found upper cervical chiropractic, how I found relief from my own problems, which we talked about in previous podcasts, your story comes into my mind too, because of that confirmation. And I know there's a higher power at work and all of that stuff, but what would you say to someone who happened upon this podcast, who is in despair with a neurological condition? What would you tell them about upper cervical?
I mean, first I would say, why not? Just do it. Like when you are in that moment, when you're in that bathtub and there is nothing else that's working, just do it. Just try it and get under care and just give it a chance, because you don't know, but it could change your life the next day. chiropractic care in general, I've talked to you and a lot of people about this because we kind of grew up with it. And there's a big group of people in the United States that have never tried it and their family never tried it. And I just encourage people to try. There's so many medications out there that people take that I believe that if they would just try epicervical care and give it a chance, it could change the way their body functions and works and heals. And, lean into it because it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt. Like literally it's not going to hurt because it doesn't hurt when you get adjusted, but it's not going to hurt just to give it a try because it could change something that you thought you could never, would never be without ringing in your ears or pain or headaches. And you know what, it can happen. So just do
it. Awesome. Dr. Schurger, do you have any other questions for her?
No.
Sarah, thank you so much.
The one question I do, I do have one quick question. Have you had any symptoms since of the TN that's even close to what that used to be?
So it's funny, you were saying that you think about it. Like right now I'm gritting my teeth because I'm like worried about it because we're talking about it. I would say the closest I get to is I get kind of tingly. And like I said, it's like I know when I need an adjustment because I get a headache or I kind of feel tingles. Thankfully, It's never pain again, but it's almost like tingles. I can tell like something's trying or not working or not connecting or something's happening. But thankfully, since then, I have not.
Yeah. And it's interesting how so many people will they have a little bit of a tell, but after but after years and years and years, that tell becomes less and less, that you don't notice it as much. And that gets you in trouble. The upside is your sister is right there. And you're like,
she's literally closer to my office than I am in my house. So
not just like right there, but literally in the neighborhood.
We could walk to your house right now.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate you telling your story and opening up about it. And I know that this is going to go places and help a lot of people. So thank you.
I hope it does. And thank you too for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh,
okay. We're going to continue on, but Sarah, you can sign off.
I am leaving. Okay. You guys have a great evening. Thank you so much.
You too. Bye, Sarah.
That was such a great story, wasn't it?
That is.
I knew you would like it. I don't think you've heard all that whole story before. You've heard little bits and pieces of it.
I don't think I have. And her saying that she was in the tub just clicked with me. And, like I said, I didn't want to say that I've had trigeminal neuralgia. I had really bad facial pain, but I'd never wanted to go to that point. But after her describing that was what got her better. And I remember sitting underneath, I turned on the hot water until it was cold. And if you are suffering from this and it takes you a little bit of time to get in, or you need something to make it feel better in between, even while you're getting adjusted and your body's healing, I highly recommend these spa shower heads. Oh my goodness, they are so nice because it's just a lot of little spots, and they are it's probably one of the most relaxing shower heads I've ever had. I will never not buy one of these going forward, but you need one. In fact, that upstairs shower needs a better shower head when I visit. So, but that's another story. But no, I would get underneath it and I would try. The trick is getting it, I'd sit in the bottom of my shower stall trying to, I'd have to stand up, adjust it a little bit, sit back down, stand up, adjust it until I got it. So it would hit all my head and water would just run down. So I could just, I might put my hands like this over my eyes just so that I could breathe with the heat coming down. But as soon as she said that, I'm like, yeah, that's probably what this was, wow. Couple years ago. The other interesting thing she mentioned, and you mentioned as well, and I've seen this on x-ray, was that one side of the atlas was honking big and the other side was itty bitty comparatively. It might not be, if they were both the same size, we'd say, oh yeah, that's just a normal atlas. But for her, that's a major problem, because I actually saw another patient several years ago with really bad migraines, seeing a really good chiropractor here in town, but he didn't take an x-ray.
No, and even traditional x-rays aren't going to necessarily show an enlarged part of the atlas, because you're taking it straight across and straight forward. You don't see that it's shaped like this.
Well, and it's two parts, and this is why the Blair work that we do is so critical, and why I wouldn't, I wouldn't change it for the world. If someone comes up with something better, I'm going to be like, all right, I'm interested, but this little bit is key, because just looking at oh, that one's bigger and this one's smaller, or it looks like it's off to the right, isn't accurate enough, because the joint biomechanics don't go straight left or right. Yeah. They're actually more forward and backwards, and you actually have to do special views, which we do in our office, so we can look straight down the joint to see this millimeter misalignment, sometimes half a millimeter, that you will never see on a conventional X-ray. As and as we're talking about this, it's funny because not funny, because I'll bring Philip on at some point in time in the future, because he has such an interesting story, but he's been having such problems with the VA. All he wants is for them to help get a better sense, because he knows what we're doing here is great, but he wants better diagnostic imaging, so we can show what's effectively screwed up with him. And he goes to these orthopedic guys, and they're saying, oh, everything's fine, because it's stuff that they can't fix. I don't want to say it's old understanding, because it's probably as new as can be, but let's be honest, the science that you and I were taught in school is based on research from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part of any healthcare field, is the information, unless you are into the cutting edge stuff like you and I are, and because we're looking at this stuff all the time, and then I come down and I teach, and you're like picking my brain so that you don't have to dig into it. I know you. And you're happy. You are much happier that I do the digging, and then I teach you, and but that works out fine. Because then you ask me, how do you now that you've said that, explain that in plain English, and I have to think.
And I think that that's relevant, because then if you wanted to explain it to a patient, you could, or just explain it to me.
Right, but to the point. But as far as finding some of these ligaments for him that has been damaged in a work-related accident that happened to be VA time, some of these ligaments are so small that traditional imaging isn't going to find them. You need very specialized imaging, which we will get lined up for him. He's trying to go through the system, not understanding that the system is not conducive.
It's not built for this. It's not built for this.
It really isn't.
I wish it was, but it's just not.
We're at least for the imaging and for what we're looking at, we're at least 20 years ahead of what your average orthopedist is looking at. Nothing against what they're doing, but they also don't have a solution for it, because we're looking at very small ligaments. The blessing is the muscles that hold that upper neck. Put that upper neck picture model back up, if you will, and show me the muscles on the back. Do you have muscles on the back of it?
There's no muscles.
Anyways, there's little muscles that are supposed to be back there. Those muscles, those are largely not torn, but those muscles will hold until the ligaments can heal. And that's
they're trying to protect. Your body is built to protect you. It is. Yeah. And sometimes that protection mechanism is actually what's holding you back.
Exactly.
Speaking of rebuilding my body, I have been doing a fast.
Oh my goodness. How are you doing that? Are you doing it quick or slow?
Very quick, actually. So I'm going to show my app here. You guys can see that I am 70 hours into a 72-hour fast. I started, I guess, Monday. I don't know what day. Anyway, and I'm doing really well with it. I have been hungry. Right now I'm not hungry, which is kind of incredible, because I know I'm going to eat in 2 hours.
Nice.
But I decided to do this for my health. Actually, my church is doing a 21 days of prayer and fasting. And that kind of kicked my butt a little bit, saying like, okay, I've done 3-day fasts before, and I'm going to go afterwards. I'm going to continue to fast, but on one meal a day, also called OMAD, through the 21 days. I might do another 3-day fast in there, but I think some of the incredible evidence, first of all, as my church has been going through the Bible there's lots of fasting in the Bible, which is incredible.
Absolutely. Every religious tradition has a fasting tradition to it.
I wish I had it with me, but there was this cool passage that was talking about, fasting so that your body consumes itself. And I was like, whoa, what? My jaw dropped, because this is written over 2,000 years ago. Right. And that might have even been in the Old Testament. I don't even know how that one passage was. Somebody can look it up and let me know. Anyway,
that sounds Old Testament to me.
But there's the process that now we've discovered called autophagy. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I said it right.
Yep.
And it's and that's one of the main reasons that I like to do a 3-day fast, is it gets your immune system like refreshed, because your body consumes the old cruddy parts of the immune system themselves.
I like the word detritus, which is just all the old cruddy junk, all the crap, all the crap dead eaters. Tissue. But basically it allows for older cells to clean themselves out, to basically go through their normal. I mean, cells go through. We are not the same matter that we were a week ago, and it's changed a little bit. And certainly, they say 7 years. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, every 7 years you have a new body or something.
Right, or something to that effect, which may or may not be accurate to all pieces and parts. But the cells certainly, they'll go through their cell division. Old cells die off, new cells replace that, and that's how we are. And that's the process. We don't have a good measure for it yet, but we do know that we can start to see in these 3 to 5 day fasts lots of benefits very quickly.
Yeah. So a couple things that I've noticed already. I was testing my blood sugars beforehand, just to see where they were at, and they weren't super high, but I did have a day or two of, when I was, waking up in the morning and, in a fasted state, like before eating anything, that was over 100.
Yeah, that's a little high.
It's a little high. So if you have fasting, you should be under 100. Yeah. And so just
just an overnight fast. We're not talking, which begs questions is, how late did, and you and I run the same problem, because we'll run a long day, especially like today, then we'll get a meal and we won't have a full 12-hour fast by the time that we wake up the next morning, and we should have been, at least.
And that's true, is I get home late and then I'll eat, and that's not always the best thing. And it's not always the best food sometimes. And so I was noticing that was creeping up. And so since the last 2 days, my blood sugars have just been steady in the 80s, which is fine. I might want 70s would be a little bit better, but I'm happy where I'm at right now. And then I noticed this morning, so I got out of bed, I got ready and everything. And then as I walked down the stairs, I had been in the last week or two, maybe longer, every time I took those first steps down the stairs, I was like, ow, 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 like my feet and my knee was hurting, and I was like, my old lady pains. And no, that was inflammation pains, because my body was inflamed. And today I just hopped right down the stairs. And so the inflammation, I even noticed it in my face this morning. When I looked in my face, I was like, my face looked fresher, and it looked like not as poofy.
You definitely look skinnier today.
Right. And it's just been 3 days, right?
Yeah.
What about now?
Yes, definitely.
So I think that's really incredible. So I'm going to continue the OMAD. I do think I'll probably do, because the church is doing 21 days of fasting and prayer. So sometime towards the end, I'll probably pick another 3 days and do another 3-day fast. And I know not everyone's religious but fasting is a part of a lot of religions. But one thing I can say that's been better, I've done 2 other 3-day fasts in the past, but I never did them prayerfully. I never did them gratefully. And I have been praying on this fast, and it has helped me. So if that is something that you want to try, just know that when you're doing a fast, it can help to pray. Or if you're not a praying person, have a moment of meditation and gratefulness. But yeah, it's helped me a lot.
Yeah, no, I and we're starting to see the science come out that is backing up why fasting is great. When we think about, and a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not crazy about religion, except it's kept society together for thousands of years. So it's not necessarily that there are let's not pretend that there aren't aspects of religion that have serious problems. And there's been
lots of problems and lots of religions.
Very much
still
so.
are.
There are, but there are tenets that we should take a look at and say, hey, is this good? Why was this practiced? Why is this a thing? And it's a recognition that we've got to clean out the body from time to time. And, I'm not saying that all of these things should be accepted blindly, but maybe we should revisit them in a manner that is at least intellectual, and say, all right, why does this stack up the way it does? And, if you wanted to just sit down and learn some other interesting fasting facts, Dr. Mindy Pels on YouTube has tons of great information that is great. And it's wonderful. In fact, my sister-in-law is going through her book as she tries to get herself healthier so that they can get pregnant. And, that's sort of the end goal
that's
there.
Awesome.
So, fingers crossed.
I know, right?
But all of these things, there's so many benefits. And here's my next question. So you're going to go to OMAD. Which meal are you going to eat?
That's a really good question. The only way I can successfully do OMAD is if I plan it day by day, and sometimes I'll eat lunch and sometimes I'll eat dinner, because sometimes there's like a get together or whatever. And if I can just skip lunch that day and do dinner, I'd prefer to do lunch. I think OMAD's better at lunch, honestly, because then eating late at night isn't the best thing for our bodies, no matter what. And it's just part of sometimes what I have to do. But I do think I'm going to switch it, and just in a 24-hour period, I'm going to have like a 2-hour eating window. And some days it might be an 18-hour fast. Sometimes it might be a 28-hour fast, depending on what's happening. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Again, the best way to do it is to pick the meal and keep it consistent through. But I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to be psycho about it.
Because between your schedule, keeping up with the girls, and everything you've got going on there, you're gonna have weeks where everything is topsy-turvy, like you said. For me, like this week was a non-Arthur week, so I didn't drive over to Arthur, Illinois to see patients over there on a Tuesday night. But when I do, I don't get back till 9 p.m. 9 p.m. I make my eggs and bacon on Tuesday night, and that's that's what I'm doing. Whereas tonight, well, it'll be 8 p.m. certainly by the time I get home. But again, I'm not going to do that consistently. I would rather try to get that meal in earlier. And the more that I look at intermittent fasting, and I think I realized this a little bit over a year ago, and everyone is now sort of coming around to this without me even saying anything. But breakfast and lunch are probably your best choices when you're doing intermittent fasting. So eat a morning meal, eat a noon meal, skip dinner. Because everyone has been very adamant about doing a skip breakfast, eat lunch and dinner. But again, dinner ends up getting pushed late, and then
it might be better just not to eat it then.
Well, right, because
I'm eating tonight though, guys. I am eating tonight.
Yes, you are. But
no. Breaking the fast. We need to talk about that too.
Yes. Yeah, we'll get to that here in a second. But the big thing, there are a couple of big pieces of research out there. One being with women. They were looking at breast cancer markers, whether or not they were elevated in these women. There were two groups. Both were fasting, both were doing intermittent fasting, but one group made sure they were eating their meals during daylight hours. So like we're short on daylight. I mean, we're done by 5 o'clock right now. It comes up 7:30, we'll say. They would eat all their meals in daylight, versus another group that would have a noon and maybe let's call it an 8 p.m. or something, or 7 p.m. certainly in darkness. And the group that ate that second meal or had some of their meals in that darkness in that evening time, they actually had higher incidences of breast cancer indicators. So there is something to our circadian rhythm driving when we're eating. So whatever that might be for you or somebody else who's listening, it's something to think about definitely, and try to focus on getting those meals in earlier in the day. But we all have, but we have our schedules and we have our lives, and we have things that we have to, sometimes food and our meals have to be put in around our work. So restrict that eating cycle has shown to be very beneficial across the board. So what are you breaking your fast with tonight?
So my refeeding will consist of a soup that's in the freezer right now. I gotta defrost it, but
nice.
It's my mom actually made it for me. It's a vegetable, and it has some chicken in it, a brothy soup, and has so I'm trying to not, because what the tendency is for some people is then they just go like, let's go to the Chinese buffet.
Exactly. I'm tempted to come on down just to go to the Chinese buffet with you.
No. Maybe if it's in my eating window.
Exactly. We'll do that on Saturday. No.
Okay. But that's the so I'm gonna eat, and pretty much that's what I'm gonna eat tonight. I'm just gonna eat that and then kind of let my body absorb it. I'm not gonna continue to eat through the night and stuff. And then tomorrow I gotta decide what time I want to eat again. And I know I'll be hungry in the morning, but I think I'm gonna wait until like late afternoon to eat again.
Sure.
So but refeeding is important not to. A lot of people will start with like a bone broth. If I had some, I don't want to stop at the store. If I had some, or if I made some, I would do that, but I don't.
In fact, Jean, here, I got to read this comment that my wife Jean sent me, because we're going to do some bone broth. She says, I saw bones in the freezer. So this idea of getting some bone broth on the range, going. So this idea has been brewing for about a day or so. Oh, yeah, I know. She's got the best jokes.
She's so cute.
She is. But no, bone broth is really easy to make, but it takes about a day.
It's a long process.
It's 48 hours. So
you can't.
So good. It's hard to maintain a fast. Oh, it smells awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I bet it would be. I wouldn't want to smell it.
I will make you. Oh, it makes the house smell awesome, but you've got to know how to make it, and it's not very difficult because it is bones. Now I've got a bunch of bones that, basically, I was eating bones. It's a T-bone that goes in a bag after I'm done eating the T-bone. The bone goes in the bag. If it's some short ribs, that goes in the bag. And then what I'll do with that, if it's been like cooked previously, I'll throw that right into the stock pot, fill it up with water. Add some salt. I might add some seasoning, like something a robust herb that won't like burn in the first 40, the first 8 hours or so. But I'll just let that soak at a simmer for 8 to 12 hours. You could probably push it to 24 without a problem if you've got a burner that you're not, some sort of heating element that you're not worried about, like fire and open flame. And definitely don't do an overnight if you don't trust your stove and have open flames. But that's all it takes. And then you start scooping that off and just drink it straight, a couple cups.
Now, do people do you have sometimes there's some stuff that floats on the top? Is that a scoop? Is that, I've heard you need to scoop off the top. Is that true?
So some of the stuff that's scooping off the top is just going to be straight fat. And at that point in time, I take the fat off and I reserve that because that's my beef tallow. And I'm using that for, I'll throw that in with my bacon tonight. So I have a little bit extra fat because most pork is too lean for my liking, and it ends up being a leaner animal. Or anyways, that's another story if we want to go down the ketone rabbit hole. But no, I'll reserve that. I'll use that for cooking. I'm making popcorn with beef tallow right now, and it is awesome. Yeah, it is absolutely awesome. It's like, oh, I've had enough popcorn, and I'm doing like a half.
So you're saying you fill up faster because it's it's cooked with the correct oil.
Why did the itty bitty little thing of McDonald's French fries satisfy?
That's true. Yeah, we talk about that last.
We've touched on it, but we didn't necessarily go into the entire Super Size Me world. But in any case, and then I use it on as a skin conditioner. And quite honestly, when I use it regularly on my hands, especially where my calluses, if I make sure I keep, my hands well moisturized with the beef tallow.
And then you smell beefy.
I really don't. I'll bring some down. I do use some
What's
essential
that
oils.
smell? It's beefy.
Yes. And then I'll, when I do my kettlebell workouts, I don't rip up my calluses.
You used to do that a lot.
And I did. And I did a couple of weeks ago, and I just didn't, my hands hadn't been conditioned for a couple of days. And sure enough, got them back to where they're supposed to be. And they heal better. They stay better that way. So
okay, last thing I'm going to talk about with the bone broths, because that's a great way to refeed after a fast.
Yep.
Is collagen. So that's part of bone broth, but it's a huge collagen fad right now where you can buy collagen powder and that stuff. And I do have some of that in my house because
we do too.
It's a good supplement. But where do you think the collagen is coming from, people? It is coming from bone broth, and they're just separating it out.
Yes and no.
Well, it's coming from beef. It's a lot of it's coming from beef.
A lot of it's actually coming from hides, cow hides.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a company out of Chicago,
Vital Proteins.
Great Lakes. Well, I don't know if that's a subsidiary or if they're selling too, but Great Lakes Collagen, or maybe it's Great Lakes Gelatin. Either way, they have collagen. They get their hides from Brazil, I believe, and they have a process of breaking down the hides and turning that into a collagen substrate. So yeah, some of it is coming from bone broth, but I'd say the majority of it is coming from hides. So, and it's still edible. It's just it's the collagen protein. Yeah. Although I think there are other benefits, and there's a lot of people. There's a young lady by the name of Mary Rudick who did broths to heal her autoimmune problems. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm certain if we got her head on straight in the process,
it would have been helpful. These are pieces to the puzzle, right?
Exactly. It would have happened faster, but it took her a year of just doing chicken bone broth.
And no other food. That's all she was eating.
That's all she could eat. She couldn't keep food down. She was basically a young college student who could not function, ended up moving back in with her mom, living upstairs, and all she, for like a year, all she did was chicken bone broth, not realize. And the story is sort of funny because she didn't realize that she could switch over to beef because chicken, she felt so good on chicken. When she switched over to beef after about a year, she's like, oh my goodness, this is so good, that it was amazing. Now, one thing more, since you're having a broth soup, one more thing that you might want to try tonight. I know it's going to get late, and that's sort of the problem.
No, I stay up late, so I'll be okay.
I know you do, but I meant more for the digestion and your blood sugar tomorrow morning. But I was watching Thomas DeLauer earlier, talking about 5 mistakes he made breaking his fast, and what he recommended. And certainly bone broth is what he recommends to break the fast with. And then about 90 minutes after the bone broth, this is where it's going to get to be a little late.
Yeah, I get it.
You would add protein in.
Okay.
And have
I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be eating protein.
You're going straight in. You're going straight in.
I'm going straight in, but I'm not going to eat like a hamburger is what I'm not going to do.
No. That sounds good though.
That does sound good. Sorry. Everything sounds good right now because I get to eat in 1 hour and 39 minutes. That's when I get to eat again.
Nice. Yeah, no, like I said, last time I did a long fast, it's been, would have been 2019. The last day I went to a Christmas party, I was dry fasting, and I'm like, oh, this looks all nice. And I'm a little lightheaded. I don't recommend dry fasting and operating heavy machinery.
So just for people listening, dry fasting means you're not even drinking water.
Yeah. Or taking a shower.
You're not.
Or brushing your teeth with water.
It's like nothing is entering your body. No water, no food.
And it's really curious.
Other than breath. You can breathe. Yeah. You're allowed to do that.
And it's really
But we would not recommend that for most people, and we would not recommend that long term.
That's something that you need to talk to your doctor about it. Talk to your doctor. Do your research. They're coming around to it. Like in 19, when I looked at it, this was like one of those, be careful, maybe not, maybe you shouldn't do that. And now they're sort of coming around. It's like, hey, we can definitely do this under good controlled circumstances.
Yeah.
And I think if you understand your limits, go figure, go talk to a doctor, talk to somebody who will help guide you through that process.
What's the maximum amount of time you would tell one of your patients?
For a dry fast?
Yeah.
I wouldn't do more than 24 hours personally.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Agreed.
even, anything longer than that gets into weirdness. Quite well. And let me talk about
they
that
say some people, I think you might even start having heart problems and stuff after like 3 days.
Yeah. So, and when I did it, like I said, I started Friday morning. The party was Friday night. And I walked down there about 9:30, probably stuck around for 45 minutes or so, just visiting with friends for Christmas, for the Christmas holiday party. And I was lightheaded the whole time. It was a thing where I sat the entire day. I was doing a lot of reading. I was doing a lot of research. I just sort of found myself a corner to stay away from everything else. The only thing I really needed was the bathroom, because I was going all the time. I was really surprised how much I needed to go to the bathroom. But any case, that's what it was. And it was, like I said, it was a good experience. But I also haven't done any fasting other than intermittent fasting in 4 years now. So
you need to we should do a 3-day fast together.
Probably not. I'm training pretty heavy right now.
So. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Don't be cool like me.
I'm not going to be cool like you.
It's impossible. It is
very
impossible.
Much so. Very much so. I got to be cool like me.
No. So, I guess we'll talk to people next week. I'll let you know how everything continues to go with my OMAD. And is there anything else you want to cover on today's podcast? Oh, I wanted to tell people, in case they were wondering what app that is, it's called the Zero app.
It's a great little app.
ZERO. And you can choose how long you want to do your fast for. Like if you're doing intermittent fasting, it has a pre-programmed ones too.
Yep. They're good. It's a nice little program. It gets a little annoying when you haven't done one in 4 years though. So it says, hey, shouldn't you do a fast? It's like,
oh yeah, ask how you doing. You can turn that off, but it'll ask you.
Do we even want to ask when the last time here? Yeah, let's ask.
And it'll tell you it's like 756 days since your last fast.
Yeah, something like that. It's not been. I did some intermittent fasts. It's only been 432 days since my last fast.
Well, look at you. It's not been exactly. 700.
Yes. Anyways, all right, everyone. Come find us on, make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast.
Please.
Give us a 5-star review. Apparently a 5-star review, that just helps people find us. And after listening to Sarah's story about trigeminal neuralgia, there are people who are suffering who absolutely need to hear that story. Because as soon as, they might not even know they have trigeminal neuralgia. They might just hear, the only relief I get is when I'm sitting underneath the shower or sitting in the bathtub in the hot water. And that's their answer to get better and get back to life. So make sure you give those 5-star reviews, even if it's the first time that you're listening. And if you need to find us, KeystoneChiroSPI.com here in Springfield, Illinois.
And I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. We've got Precision Chiro STL, like St. Louis.com.
Yep. All right, folks, we will see everyone next week. And you have a grand old day. Dr. Bagley, enjoy your soup.
Yay! Bye, guys.
Bye.
That's all for today's episode of The Blonde and the Bald. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you enjoyed today's show with Drs. Bagley and Schurger, remember, don't give up and just live with the pain. Come back next week and get more answers and solutions. Visit our websites at KeystoneChiroSPI.com and PrecisionChiropracticSTL.com for more info, and catch all the episodes of The Blonde and the Bald.